Welcome to the June 6th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville, D-Day actually. President of the club, Kevin Lynch. Please silence your phones. Providing invocation today is Barbara Sexton Smith, Chief Rewirement Officer with BSS Enterprises, Louisville's Honorary Ambassador, and Paul Harrell's Fellow +5. You can go here, I guess.
All right, fellow Rotarians, honored and featured guests, please prepare to pray in the way that you're most comfortable with me. Our Father Almighty, Creator of all and Prince of Peace, we've gathered together today to thank you for all you have given us and for all you do for us. And we look to you as the power that is greater than all of us put together. And in your eyes, we are one, so show us the way and order our steps. Help us to peel back the petals of our heart and look into our souls, feed our thoughts, and filter our passions, so our actions will actually manifest your desire for the glory of all of us. And our Father, guide us. Call us into action. Make us effective. Teach us patience. Soften our tongues and sweeten our words. Extend our hands and warm our hearts. And above all, make us instruments of your peace here and throughout the world. And Lord, give us new strength. Lord knows we need it so we can build places of belonging. Diversity is a fact, and inclusion is an act. Equity is each of our choice, and the sense of belonging is the outcome we desire. Always humble, full of grace, guide us so we may be forever faithful. Please, dear Lord, make your face shine down upon us. Give each of us peace now and forever. And it is in your name we pray. And may all God's people together say amen. Amen.
And leading the pledge and forward test today is D-Tron, CEO of Louisville Institute Technology, LLC, and Paul Harris Fellow.
I'd like to share something because I am a Vietnamese immigrant, a proud American, so I always call myself Vietnamese born, American made. And the key thing I'd like to share before we do the pledge is, for me personally, this is the number one country on earth. Because of all the loving and caring people that we have here. So thank you. Join me to do the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, before we test the things we say and do,
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Now it's time to introduce your guest at this mic over here. As your name is called, guest, just stand at the table. Just go ahead and introduce yourself and then your guest. Mike.
Mike Alwerda with Fifth Third Bank. I have Tiffany Jett visiting with us today. She heads up marketing for Fifth Third in Kentucky.
I am Ken Grossman, Executive Image Custom Clothiers, and my guest today is Douglas Stow. Douglas is an Associate Banking Officer, Commercial Banking Officer of Republic Bank, and his family is a longtime Trinity University, Kentucky family, and longtime Louisville family.
Fellow Rotarians, I'm Larry Sloan, and I'd like to introduce my guest, John Cunningham, who's already standing. John is the broker for UBS here in Louisville and a longtime dear friend of mine. Thank you for welcoming me.
President Kevin, fellow Rotarians, I'm Kevin Fields with Louisville Central Community Center. Please join me in welcoming my very special guest, Dr. Shana Stoddard. She is a proud graduate of Louisville Central High School who currently serves as Associate Professor for Chemistry at Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. Stoddard is here on a mission. She will be our keynote speaker on our Juneteenth event, the Trustees of Inclusive Equity, and she's certainly a champion of DEI nationally.
President Kevin. I'd like to introduce today Erin Quire, who is the Advancement Association or Associate with Make-A-Wish Foundation. Thanks for joining me today, Erin. And if you're not familiar with Make-A-Wish, they shine a light of hope for children fighting critical illnesses during their darkest days. And there are several ways to support: monthly donations, fundraising, and volunteering. Get with Erin following and chat with her to see how you might be able to help. She might be able to help you. Thanks.
President Kevin and fellow Rotarians, I am Lori Flannery, President and CEO of New Directions, which is an affordable housing and community development organization here in Louisville for 50-some years. And I have with me today Bridget Johnson. Bridget is our Chief Operating Officer at New Directions.
President Kevin, fellow Rotarians, I am Barbara Sexton-Smith, Chief Rewirement Officer and Louisville's Honorary Ambassador, proclaimed by Mayor Craig Greenberg. With me today is my opportunity to officially present to the community the reason that I stepped away from the mayor's office to step into what I love best: my husband, my partner, my best friend, Lacey T. Smith. Lacey is a twice-elected former state senator and former chairman of the Education Committee for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and he and his partner own and operate more than 1 million square feet of warehouse space and operating third-party logistics. I think I heard UPS is in the house. Thank you.
He's also working 2 jobs. He's your life partner and also a business partner.
Yes, he is.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Delene Taylor, Executive Director of the club. For some reason, we were having sound issues again. I swear there's a gremlin that hangs out in the room and shows up at 12 o'clock every Thursday. Can you hear okay from this microphone? All right. Can you hear okay from Kevin's microphone? Okay. I'm going to do my best to manage the loud noises that keep coming out of the speakers, and hopefully we can figure it out before next week. I have one thing, a bracelet that someone perhaps lost, if this looks familiar. I have several guests to introduce today. For our new member, Das? Okay, he's a new member. I don't think you've been officially introduced to our club yet, have you? All right, so I'm not introducing you today. I am going to introduce your guest, though. He hasn't even been introduced, and he's already bringing guests. So Dr. Tiffany Bridgewater and Merv Antonio, are you guys both with CNPE? Is that correct? Yeah. So Center for Nonprofit Excellence is in the house. We also have some folks from Kentucky Science Center. Rachel Victory is the manager of annual fund and individual giving. Welcome. Virginia Hoyt, did I say that correct? Is the manager of programs and partner engagement at the center. Welcome. Jeannie Firth is, let's see here, your title is, you're with Visions, Inc., right? You're an author of Feeding New Orleans, Celebrity Chefs, and Reimagining Food Justice. And I feel like you've got some other roles on here. Yes, but welcome. Thanks for being here today. And then I believe we have a guest of our speaker, Kendra. No? You're not, yes, Kendra. No. You are a guest of our speaker, Carolyn. I don't know if she's going to introduce you or not, but Kendra Flanagan is Strategy Advancement Professional with Supplier Diversity and Sustainability at Humana. Did I get that right? And Holly Turner, and for whatever reason I don't have your, oh, there it is, Director of Supplier Diversity and Sustainability at Humana. So thank you for bringing guests.
Carolyn, if you have something to celebrate, tell her what you're celebrating. Just this last week, you got an amazing award, number 6 in the United States. We'll get to that more, I guess. Guests, if you would, just immediately after the meeting, just go over to that table and that end, and Craig Sherman can explain. There's Craig. He can explain a little more about Rotary, what we do as a club. Our Rotarian in the spotlight this week is Dr. Greg Ross. Congratulations on the groundbreaking of the West End Girls' School. We're all very familiar with the West End Boys' School. It's the West End New Girls' School, opening in August of next year, August of 2025. That's pretty exciting. Our club was also in the spotlight with a story about the Ohio River Sweep we did under Alex Novak's leadership, and it got a little bit of press on WLKY. The link to the interview with Alex is on Sparks, and by the way, it was clear when he was being interviewed, that guy's a pro. He's used to being interviewed on TV. That was part of his job before. He did a great job with that. Our summer social at Craig Sherman's home, it's this Sunday from June 9th at 4 to 7. It says 7:30 on the invitation. Today's your last chance to reserve a spot. I hope to see everyone there. It's really a lot of fun. It's good food, good drink, good friendship, just basically camaraderie. It's really nice event, nice place, and a good host. Our next session at Rotary University is via Zoom at noon on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. We'll share information about the club's various committees. If you have not completed this session or would like to refresh or just plan to attend that via Zoom, again, the link is in Sparks. For many years, our club has supplied volunteers to the New Directions Housing Corporation, where Lori Flannery is the CEO. Repair Fair program, it helps disabled and or elderly homeowners with tasks such as yard cleanup, minor repairs, exterior painting, that kind of thing. We need volunteers this Saturday, June 15th. See David Snyder, and he's been doing a great job getting this thing together. See David about signing up for that. Also, if you want to fly somewhere, join your fellow Rotarians on a group trip November 1st to the 9th for only $3,899 double occupancy, which includes hotels, meals, day trips, and airfare from Louisville. It doesn't say what it is, but it's a trip to Italy, by the way. One little detail there. Details are in Sparks, so contact Kent Moyler with questions. And by the way, did anyone notice that we have been offering some pretty great prizes recently? For members who catch the intentional mistake, which Delene puts in there in Sparks. If you find it, you get to be in a raffle. This week it's a $100 ticket for the West End School Bourbon Raffle, donated by Walt Kuno. I'd like to welcome to the podium President-elect Lori Hudson Flannery, CEO of New Directions Housing Corporation, and Paul Harris Fellow to induct some new members today.
and possess the qualities that will permit you to exemplify in your public, business, social, and private life the true spirit of Rotary. You have been admitted not only to the Rotary Club of Louisville, but to a worldwide organization of over, get this, 46,000 clubs. And by virtue of your membership in this club, you will be welcomed into the fellowship of any Rotary club in the world. And of course, we have many examples of that we can talk about within this group here today. Rotary membership adds value to those who engage, whether by attending meetings or events, participating in service projects, or sharing your knowledge and talents as we carry out the principles of Rotary into our community. So I would like to call forward just a little bit closer, Chris Nations. This is Chris. Chris is the Vice President of Digital at Run Switch PR, the largest public relations and public affairs firm in Kentucky. With a wealth of experience in the industry, Chris has led the firm to over 60 awards. His expertise lies in the nexus of government and business, specializing in grassroots advocacy, policy, and legislative matters, political campaigns, and corporate and organizational communications. Chris is a former member of the Bowling Green Rotary Club and is a Paul Harris Fellow. With this pin that President Kevin is going to hand you, we now formally induct you as a member of the Rotary Club of Louisville. Thank you. Now for Dave Pankatai. And you all can still hear me, correct? Oh, yes. Thank you. All right. He's going to have to go to the doctor. Dan joined 7 county services as president and CEO in January, replacing Abby Drain, who retired. He is from Michigan and was most recently the CEO at Macomb County Community Mental Health, a public provider of mental health, substance use disorder, and developmental disability treatment services. David holds a Master of Arts degree in mental health counseling from Oakland University and a Bachelor of Arts degree in clinical and community psychology from the University of Michigan at Flint. All right, with this pin that will be handed to you by President Kevin, Dave will now formally induct you as a member of the Rotary Club of Louisville. And now to reinstate former Rotary Club member, Lou Armstrong. Lou was a member of our club from 1994 to 2003, so he might be a familiar face to some of you. He served as director from 1991 to 2001 and chaired the International Exchange Program. He was unable to continue attending meetings when his midlife crisis led him to the teaching profession. Lou has been a math teacher for 25 years, and he continues to teach part-time at Assumption High School, as well as coach the track and field team. He and his wife Cindy have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. Lou's hobbies include running, cycling, and playing the Highland bagpipes. Very cool, very cool. All right, with this pin, Lou, we now formally induct you again as a member of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm going to congratulate everyone. Thank you all. And welcome. Nice job.
What a great group of new members. Speaking of great people, Carolyn is coming up in a few minutes here. And the number 6 in the nation, but there was something that was by the #1 firm of rating DEI kind of initiatives. Humana was picked as the number 6 country in the entire, 6 company in the entire country. And when they're rated by criteria and things you do, that's much more accurate than we talked about it, so you should be very proud of that. Welcome. Thanks for leadership. I'd like to welcome to the podium Kevin Fields, President and CEO of Louisville Central Community Center, and also Club Secretary, and he's, as of the end of the month, he'll no longer be chair of the DEI committee. He has done one hell of a job with that over the last 2 years.
Thank you, President Kevin, and good afternoon again, Rotary Club of Louisville and distinguished guests. I have the very distinct pleasure of introducing a truly remarkable individual whom I've had the privilege of knowing for nearly 25 years. Carolyn Tandy is not only a highly accomplished leader, but also a nationally recognized political figure and an unwavering champion for social and economic justice. Carolyn currently serves as Senior Vice President and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Humana. In this role, she's at the forefront of Humana's DEI initiatives, working tirelessly to cultivate a culture of belonging within the company. Her leadership ensures that all employees have the opportunity and support to reach their fullest potential. Carolyn manages a team of highly skilled experts and strategically advises on cultural engagement across 5 key focus areas: strategic business alignment, environmental, social, and governance, a cultivated culture of inclusion, and an advanced diverse talent strategy. Her responsibilities extend to developing Humana's diverse talent strategy, which includes recruitment, growth, mentorship, sponsorship, and retention, reflecting Humana's commitment to diversity and inclusion. Carolyn's work is anchored in Humana's commitment to supplier diversity, ensuring investments in historically underutilized businesses to foster growth through mentorship and educational opportunities. Her contributions have earned her numerous awards and recognition from prestigious organizations such as Disability IN, Fair 360, the Hispanic Association on Corporate Responsibility, the Human Rights Campaign, Military Times, and Savoy Magazine, just to name a few. Before her tenure at Humana, Carolyn served as Director of Diversity and Inclusion at Texas Roadhouse and Director of Congressman John Yarmuth's district office. Outside her professional accomplishments, she is dedicated to her community and her family. I have to say shout out to her family, her husband David, her wonderful children, Kennedy, Avery, and Solomon. And on a personal note, I am extremely honored that my organization, Louisville Central Community Centers, will be presenting Carolyn with the Dr. Ralph Desjardins Trustees of Inclusive Equity Award on June 19th as part of our 8th annual Ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a warm welcome to our esteemed speaker today, Ms. Carolyn Tandy.
Folks standing up in the room, I haven't said a word. Everyone should be part of Rotary. Everyone should be part of Rotary. I will tell you, I have felt warmth just even coming from the parking lot all the way into the room. When I came in, there was a little light on the room, so I was like, okay, let me just love on like the 3 people that I see. And then everyone was like, I'm here. Lacey said, I'm going to be here. My friend Carolyn speaking, I want to be here. I saw my Gaines family. I saw my coach from Humana. I saw Melville. I just saw people that I know. I just want to make sure you all know how special this place is. I've made new friends. Chris, I'm going to keep calling your name throughout the whole thing. Just be prepared. He's your new Rotarian. We're going to make sure he feels quite welcome all throughout. I just really appreciate how well I've been taken care of. And you'll know a lot about me, Kevin and Kevin. These are two friends of mine that I've had for years. They go way back with me. And so even just to be here with them and then have Lori coming in as your new president, y'all are in great hands. You just have to know sometimes who you have around you and to make sure you appreciate them. I'm going to not take up a whole afternoon because those who know me know I like to talk. And I have always lots of things to say. And this world around DEI, there's a lot being said about it. Hi, Fred Carolyn. Everywhere I look, I'm just seeing more friends. But there's lots being said about it. And so I'm hoping today you can at least learn a little bit. Kevin mentioned some of the accolades that Humana has earned. I say we earned because we were not always there. We're working at it. And some of this is, I don't view this as being Humana's work. I view this as a way that as part of the community, we all should be working at this together. But some of it has to do with how we kind of level set on what we're really talking about. Because I think sometimes it gets confused. You know, we got politics. I'm a lover of politics. I'll just confess there. But I think sometimes things get confused. And I'm going to use my little clicker. Maybe. I don't know if anyone can read that, and I tell you, I have no prizes today. I'm a teacher at heart. Normally I bring treats. If people speak up, I give them treats, but you have some cookies at your table. And so I'm going to give you the permission space. If someone is brave enough to read that, and by the way, if someone's not brave enough, Chris is going to jump in and always chime in for me. Go ahead, Kendra.
We think we see the world as it is. When in fact we see the world as we are.
Very interesting. Good job. You earned your cookie. We think we see the world as it is, when in fact we see the world as we are. And Stephen Covey, for those who like Stephen Covey books, that's one of his quotes. It really resonates a lot with me around this world of DEI. And by way of introduction about me, I thought what I would do today is ask and share some things about me and ask you if something resonates with you as I'm describing it about me, if you could just kind of raise your hand, and I'd like for y'all to just kind of look around and see who else kind of falls in our group, okay? So I'm gonna try one out. I was born in the 70s. Okay. Now there's some of us who were born in the 60s. There are some of us who were born in the 50s. And just kind of look around. There's some of us who were born in the 80s. Okay. Now, okay, do we have any 90s babies in the room?
40s.
Wait, pause. We have 40s. Okay, any 2000s? Anybody that's 2000? Okay, that's our little cut off there. Right? But I also,
How about the
interesting.
30s? How about the
30s? I forgot them right there. Such a blessing. And so it's important to kind of think about that. Think of the mix generationally you have in this room. I grew up with meager beginnings, not a silver spoon in my mouth. Meager beginnings. Anyone else? Okay. I am not from Louisville. I actually, if anyone has been part of any one of these states, just kind of raise your hand. I was born in California. Okay, come on, California. Where in California?
Coronado.
Okay, LA.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
no, that's San Diego.
Yes.
And my parents sold their house in 1945 and were the only people that moved from California to Indiana that year.
That's amazing.
And they sold that house for $6,500. And I'm still mad about it.
That's amazing. We actually have a similar story. But California, grew up in Dallas, Texas. Anyone Texas? Went to school in Boston. And kind of grew up professionally in the Metro DC area. And I have been in Kentucky now for 23 years, married my Kentuckian. Some of y'all know David Tandy. I grew up and been in Kentucky for 23 years. I am married. I have 3 kids, as Kevin mentioned. I also want to make sure and say that I have strong immigrant roots. Anyone have immigrant roots? Now, okay, that was really in some ways a trick question. Just kind of think through that one for those who may catch it on the way in the parking lot. They may realize what I'm saying there. I am an only child. Any only children? Chris, my sister, we get a bad rap as only children. The other ones in the room, they give us a bad rap. But okay, but I'm going to actually ask a different question. Who's the oldest in their family? They have their own reputation, don't they? Right? And who's the baby? Oh, yeah. Y'all got your own reputation too. Now, I will also say my family. I grew up in a highly religious family. My grandfather was an Anglican priest. My granduncle was the Bishop of Jamaica. Anyone else grew up with strong religious background or family roots? It does actually play out in your kind of thinking, as well as, again, kind of familial, how you think about life. I think that one's an important one. I'm a caregiver to my 83-year-old mother. Anyone a caregiver? Now, that's a trick question, too. You got kids you may be caring for. You got spouses you may be caring for, right? Parents you're caring for. My mother is highly important to me in terms of, again, how we think about how we go through life and how I care for my mother as well as I care for my kids. That is built into my cadence every day as to how I walk through life, right? I will also say that I have had multiple careers. I'm not doing the thing I started out considering my girl in the blue dress. Yes. And I've had multiple careers, which I think in some ways also contributes to how I think about things. It's not like we lose those skills, we lose those experiences. They carry forward with you in terms of how you, again, think about innovation, how you think about the world. You carry all those things with you. I didn't say this, but I'll ask this question. Is anyone in here a Harry Potter fan? Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind right now. Would it surprise you to know that my middle name is Hermione? My grandfather taught Shakespearean English at Oxford. And so all my aunts and uncles, because I call them aunts and uncles, they all have Shakespearean names. And so Hermione comes from Queen Hermione from A Winter's Tale, prior to Harry Potter. But I can now go down to Florida and get any kind of cool wand or t-shirt with Hermione on it. It's very, very cool. And the last one I'm gonna say, I can't find my friend's face in here. I, believe it or not, am an introvert. And look around the room, there's a lot of introverts in the room. There's a lot of people faking it. People think that they're extroverts and they're not. They're introverts. Now, why am I telling you all these things about me? I'm so glad you asked. Diversity is not one thing. Diversity is not just my race. Diversity is not just my gender. Diversity is about knowing all the attributes that make you who you are. It's all about every part of you. Every part of you contributes to your diversity. Where you grew up. Did you grow up in a rural neighborhood? Did you grow up in the city? Are you an only child? Are you the middle child? Did you have a silver spoon? Did you have a meager beginnings? Did you grow up with strong immigrant roots, a strong religious background? What language you may speak? What, again, are the experiences that you have professionally that have been brought to you to this point? All those things contribute to the way that you think and how you show up in life. And you may have noticed, I have a good view from here. There may have been a viewpoint that there were some people raising their hands repeatedly with me. And guess what? They may not have looked like me. My friend over here, who's a white male, had his hand up most of the time I had something to say, right? So we're more connected than what you may think we're connected, right? Because guess what? We're all diverse. We're all diverse. When we talk about diversity, we're not talking about that group over there. We're talking about all of us. And the more we think about these terms and how we're connected to it, the more we'll start to think about the ways that we should all be working together to, again, make sure that we all can add value in the room. Does that make sense? We have to make sure to think about, beyond how people may have perceived diversity, how you can think and be comfortable with how your diversity shows up every day. Some of this is about how comfortable you are with all the things that make up who you are. My man stood up here and said, I am proud to be a Vietnamese immigrant here in America, best country in the world. He's very clear about his identity. He's very comfortable sharing his identity. Some of us have not had to think about our identity in that way, but it shows up every day. We experience you every day through your identity. And so some of it is about how you become more comfortable finding the connections in the room. Because if we're able to find the connections in the room, then we won't get so caught up in labels. We'll get more caught up in what connects us, as well as what's not in the room. What's in the room and what's not in the room, both of those things are important to all of us as business leaders and as well as the civic leaders. Okay, so now I'm going to go into a different question of how is diversity different than inclusion? I'm so glad you asked. Inclusion is, again, about all of us. It is about all of us. I'm going to have this theme. I'm going to keep saying things. So I want to make sure they say if you say something 3 or 4 times, you'll get it. Diversity is about all of us, but inclusion is about all of us. What is important to you may be different than what's important to me. How you find belonging may be different than how I find belonging. But it's up to each of us to make sure that all of us belong. It's not up to one of us or 2 of us. It's up to all of us. And I'll tell you, at Humana, we've been really clear to not say the 20 people that work in our Department of DEI, we do not own DEI. I promise you that. Everybody, from the CEO on down, owns responsibility for culture, for how we belong, how we contribute. No one can be a hider or hogger on this. This is about how all of us have a responsibility to make sure that we show up and create a space that everyone can feel that they can contribute and be their true self. No reason for anyone to feel that this is not a space that you can contribute and be your full self. Everyone has responsibility to that. So, a couple things about Humana. We center in on our greatest resource. Some people may say our greatest resource is our healthcare. It is not. Our greatest resource, it's always going to be about the people. People drive everything that we do. Every single person in this room is only successful because of the people that they surround themselves with, the people that help them think differently, the people that drive innovation. It's always going to be about the people. Senator Lacey, it's always going to be, when you go to Frankfurt, about how you find connection, how you're able to influence. All those things determine if you're successful or if you're not. If you find ways to say this is how one group is and how another group is, we don't get anything done. We have to be able to find each other at our core of what connects us, and that is about how people are able to think about our humanity first, how we are responsible for each other first. Think about how difficult of a time our community has gone through in the last several years. Think about a time before that. Think about in the future, what does that look like for us? We have choices we each can make. We can sit here and say someone else is responsible for it, the governor is responsible for it, the legislature is responsible for it, the mayor is responsible for it. They're responsible for whether we have a good community or not. I completely disagree with that. What I say is that each of us has our own responsibility to how we care for our community, how we view ourselves as being responsible for our community, how we're each responsible for each other, to make sure that no one is left behind. No one is a hider or a hogger. Every person has a voice and can contribute. Because this is important to everybody. Everybody remembers what it feels like to be included or to be excluded. Everybody. You can go all the way back to when you were a little child. I don't know when you got your first lesson in exclusion. But at some point, everyone remembers what it felt like to be included, and you absolutely remember what it felt like when you were excluded. And nobody wants to be left out or othered, and everyone wants to find their voice and belong. Everybody. So just a couple things about good old Humana. We are making sure that we're being deliberate around this work. Because again, our end customer are the communities in which we serve. It would be silly for us to say that we're going to be in the healthcare business, caring for people in the community, and have nobody working for us that looks like the community. That would be silly. And it would also not lead to the right outcomes for our customer. We have to be sure that the voices in the room can speak from a first place position as to what's needed for the community. That's a must. But in addition to that, we also have to think about how we are also spending our resources. $98 billion, with the B, $98 billion Humana. We have some resources. We have some ways that we spend money. We have some ways that we contribute. And so it is our responsibility to think about those connection points back to our purpose. So that way we bring in, again, the right vendors, we bring in the right partners that also, again, contribute to how we show up in the community. All of those things are connected. They're not disconnected, they're absolutely connected. And then equity, some people get caught up on this equity thing. I think the easiest way to think about it is all boats should rise together. All boats should rise together. If you have a policy or practice that is disproportionately impacting one group, 9 times out of 10, if you address that policy or practice, it's going to be good for everybody. It's not just going to benefit one group, it's going to benefit everybody. Some of this is around how we think about the work differently. No one likes to be othered. No one likes to be left out. So why are we okay with some people being othered or left out? And if we fix that, most times we're fixing it for ourselves too. We doubling down on what's good for all of us. No one left behind, right? And then inclusion. We talk about it again. What's good for me may be different than what's good for you, but all of it matters. I tell a joke sometimes around, you remember when you were in high school and you were maybe thinking about going to prom. And some of us got invited to go to prom, but some of us didn't. And you may have chosen to go with a group of friends, But when you got to prom, everybody stood up against the wall. And no one's on the dance floor, but everyone is up against the wall. And then that song came on. And you're debating, do I? Do I? But then, that find somebody that you've always had your eye on waltzes on over and puts their hand out and says, would you like to dance?
I'm waiting forever.
And then you're able to lose yourself in that moment because you remember, you take it with you. You remember what it felt like to be included. And you remember what it felt like that that song was playing, your song, Chris, that song was playing, right? So in your spirit, everything lines up. That's what belonging is about. When your folks are coming to work, they should feel like they could run through walls for you. You will get the most out of your people when you're able to treat them well. For them to understand that there is a purpose in their work, that their work is actually meaningful to the outcomes. This is not about just doing things that are a matter of the heart. This is the business case for the work. We get more out of our people when they are able to show up and they know that this work is on their backs too. They show up ready because they know they have purpose and they have meaning and they have a reason to be there. And they're responsible for the business outcome like everyone else. So, I'm not going to talk to you too much longer, but I did want to go back to where I started and say that we don't view this as being Humana's work by ourselves. We view this as being, Barbara took her phone and did exactly that. We consider this to be everybody's work. We're in this community with you. That means we are imploring you to do this work alongside with us. This is sometimes hard because people are like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. I'm so glad you asked. I'm going to make sure that you have at least the basics down, that you have no confusion as to where you can at least begin. Number one, I want to make sure you get the basics right. Look at your data. Look at your messaging. Look at your accountability. We are such data-rich organizations. We study our P&Ls. We love them. Our P&Ls tell us if we're doing well and where we're doing not. But I would implore you to look at your people resource data the exact same way. Be as intentional to know where people are coming in the organization, how they're coming in the organization, how they're growing in the organization, and why they're leaving you. You should know that information as strongly as you know what's happening in your P&L. Because again, people resources contribute to the bottom line. They're our number one resource, right? We want to make sure to also align our goals at an enterprise level, at a top level, level with our business outcomes and objectives. This should not be something that's being done on the side of the plate. This is something that is incorporated in everything that we do. We want to make sure that we're also aligning our goals with the community. Again, if the work that we do is a reflection of the community should align with our work. That means you have to add transparency. That means you also ask questions. And when you ask someone their opinion, you actually listen and do something with it. You don't ask for the sake of just asking. That's not good enough. You actually have to ask someone their opinion. They give it to you and you do something about it. You want to also make sure that you think about the equity of your hires, your promotions, as well as your processes, right? You want to make sure that you're increasing your community engagement. I mentioned about your transparency, your cultural competency. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Whether you know it, like it or not, someone in your family, this is important to. And they may be closer to you than you think. You have to get comfortable with what is uncomfortable. What was taboo is no longer taboo. It is how we're thinking about these things in first person, right? We want to make sure to also increase associate Empowerment. Make sure to not think of terms in terms of the hierarchy of your organizations. How do you flatten your organization and make sure you're giving your employees a voice to tell you what's really going on? Sometimes your employees know what's going on before you do. And they will just sit there quietly until you give them the permission space to actually share. Okay? Couple last ones. We want to make sure to increase representation. I promise you, there's so much benefit in increasing your representation. And I'm not just talking about the diversity that people think of in terms of groups that they want to other. As we mentioned in this room, there's lots of diversity in this room. What's missing? Where can you add value? If there were new voices in the room, what benefit would that bring in terms of the growth of the organization? How could you make more impact, be more meaningful to the organization? You want to also think about increasing leadership training. Thank you, you did that today, right? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you got a little leadership training. You can go back and tell your teams what you did today. You can go on LinkedIn and share what you did today and how you're thinking about things differently and what you may be doing differently going forward. I want you to tap into Holly and Kendra's work and think about reviewing who you're doing your supply-based work with. Who are your partners? Because they actually can help you be more diverse and more inclusive as well. Maybe you don't have all the abilities to do all the things quickly, but you may have other suppliers and you can put your expectation on them that if I'm spending dollars with you, here's my expectation. And trust me, you have the dollars, they're gonna come and follow, right? And then the last one is the one I'm gonna leave you with. Make the experience of being the only rare. There are so many rooms where folks are not in that room. I'm not going to tell you that we're going to be able to do everything to put everybody in the room. I wish we could do that, but that is not going to happen. But that is no excuse. If anything, what I'm asking you to do is to make sure that when you're in a room and you know someone's not in that room, you have the responsibility of carrying their voice into the room. You have the responsibility of making sure their experience, their first-person experience is in that room. There's no reason for you to sit on the sidelines and say, not my problem. We owe it to our community to make sure every person is valued, every experience is valued and brought into those rooms. On that note, I think I'm done. Oh, one more Stephen Covey quote. Who's going to be my reader? Stand up for me so everyone can hear you.
There is nothing more fundamental to human performance than how we see and treat each other as human beings.
That's it.
Carolyn was cheering there also. She was cheering for you receiving the message about diversity. It's not, what we all think it is. It's much deeper. It's really complex. And I'll tell you, I've known, I guess I've known her since about the time you moved here. And I knew her when she had her first job here, and she's gone through many different jobs, done tremendously well, and she talks about how you bring different perspectives. This lady has tremendous insight in so many issues, and she sees the world in a diverse way herself, and it's based on what she's done, but also who she is inside. Because I've never seen anybody that's more loving and smiling all the time. David's also great, a great family. The kids are wonderful. And it's just, I'm telling you, you're just a great story and a good person for our community. I want to thank you for all you're doing. Let's do. You get some Q&A. Go ahead, Tom.
Let's see if this works. It does. Okay. Carolyn, thank you. Your presentation today really is enlightening, and I would, there's a joke about presidents being the best president, one of the best presidents. Well, your presentation was one of the best presentations that we've had. I'm presuming, this is a preliminary question, I'm presuming that you may be related to the Human Resources Department, but are not in it. Is that correct?
Actually, I am currently at Humana.
Can't hear.
Can you hear? Okay. I am in the HR department, yes.
Okay.
Now, when I was at Texas Roadhouse, I was in legal.
Okay. The question is sort of wacky, but I'm familiar with people who really had talent, but they themselves put themselves in a position that was not right for them. How can you, or how can your department help to reposition the person?
That's a great question. We experienced that a lot at Humana. You can imagine 67,000 employees. You can't hear me? You can't hear me? They can't. 67,000 employees and highly matrixed organization. You can imagine folks may come in just because they want to join Humana. They're like, I want to join, get in any job I can possibly get in. I just want to get my foot in the door. And then when they finally get there, they say, well, this is really not what I want to do. This is not my passion area. And I really want to do that job. But there's not the right resourcing, skill set, advocacy from the leaders, know-how in terms of being able to think through how that person actually can be successful in that role. What we've tried to do, Tom, is kind of think through, some people have mentors, yes, but it's beyond mentorship. How can we have our leaders sponsor the talent? And what that means is getting to really know the talent for what they are, where they can contribute, where their gaps may be, how we take responsibility to fill in some of those gaps, and then kind of handhold them through a process for them to identify what skills match up with what positions so that we can right-size them into the right roles. I'll also say, as we grow higher into the organization, it gets harder and harder to do that. That's where we lean in on board service and other ways to also demonstrate your skills externally, because we hold ourselves responsible not just for what happens inside our walls, but also for what happens outside our walls. So if we're not able to develop right away internally, we give people placeholders in terms of board service in the community to again garnish the right skills that they then can use to grow within the organization the right way.
Thank you for the presentation. How are you? Steve? The language of making the other rare, okay, which to me is the only rare, is very refreshing, because the idea of nobody being left behind is well intended. It actually can almost be oppressive in its absolute nature. So when did the making it rare start to kind of become part of the lexicon, that language?
We made it up. There's a lot of information available to us all the time. It's really about how do we choose to lean in. And especially in corporate roles, I was in government roles, Kevin and I knew each other when I was in a government role. You know the industries that are doing this well, you know the industries that are not. And so we can't just use the excuse that, oh, we don't have this group or that group here in this room or in this setting or in this industry or in this track. We have to build a pipeline towards, again, achieving the outcomes that we want. That means if we're asking the same people, who do you know that can do this role, we may not be getting a different outcome. That means we need to expand. We need to think outside the box. We actually need to step into some relationships and partnerships that may not be first person familiar. We may need to actually have new friends. And you know what? Some of this is just about how we live differently ourselves. I mean, I'll just speak about Carolyn. I won't talk about anyone else. But Carolyn, I have my group of friends. We all like each other. When we go to dinner, we hang out. We stick with each other. When I have something going on or someone asks me, who would you recommend? I'm tapping into my friends. That's how we operate because that's comfortable. It's uncomfortable for me to then say, well, I know a guy named Tom, and I don't know him very well, but I know Tom and I met each other at a luncheon, and I know this is the pipeline that he has available. I'm going to tap into Tom and go have a conversation, ask him to go have coffee, and see how we may be able to connect. Or I know a guy named Chris who's over at Run Switch. He does public relations. I used to do public affairs. And while we may not know each other well, I know this is his strength. You know, those are not the things that we like to do. We like to stay in our comfort zones. But innovation happens when we step out of our comfort zones. That is where we really get things done. And so that means partnering with some new people. That means going on LinkedIn and following some new people. That means listening to some different things and stretching ourselves to, again, help contribute to why we're not allowing ourselves to let these rooms be small and rare. We want to make sure to grow our pipeline, grow our familiarity with our community.
So Carolyn, thank you for giving us a master class on the principles and the importance of DEI. It's phenomenal. I don't know about you all, but I feel like I'm on a college campus, right? Which we are. And I just had a great class. But I'd like for you to answer this question, not as Carolyn, but as corporate America. And so what the question is around the impending anti-DEI legislation, how does corporate America react and view, or say view first and then react to that movement that is afoot?
Great question. And I'm going to actually fib a little on you asked me not to speak as Carolyn, but it's very hard for me to separate Carolyn from what I do. And I've been really vocal with my organization to say that if I am going to have Humana behind my name, I have to be able to every day stand up and say, I align with where my company is. Now, does that mean corporate America can't do more? I did not say that. But I will say for us at Humana, Kevin, we are in the healthcare business. We are in the business of caring for people. We are responsible for the health of people. There is nothing more personal than the health of people. Every person in here has been touched by healthcare. And if they haven't, they can't go all the way back to where they're a baby. At some point you will. And how you interact with healthcare determines what works well for you, what works well for your family members, how again you contribute. All of those things to me line up perfectly with DEI. There's no way for us to do the work that we do and not think about you as a person and what you need. If I only lump you in with what everyone else, you're not going to get specialized care. You're not going to get the care that matters to you. So for us at Humana, it's not about what's happening in Washington or in Frankfurt. Those things are important, yes. But this is really about our integrity. Our integrity says we are here to care for people. We're here to put health care in our hands and trust in our hands on behalf of people. So for us, as much as the noise will continue to happen, and I promise you that pendulum is going to continue to swing, this is really about, for us, how we care for our patients and members in the communities that we're in service to. And so I just want to make sure.
I'll say one thing. Kevin knows so much about DEI. He's got some great perspective. There's many others in this room who have good perspective on it. But I guarantee you, Kevin and everybody else in this room learned a lot from you today. It was great insight.
And actually, I have one thing. I forgot to do one thing. One thing. You know, I always got to take pictures of people. So I'm going to do two. We all going to smile with me.
How many again?
Where are your hands? Okay, wait a minute. Yes. Okay, one more. Bingo.
By the way, next week's speaker is Rebecca Fleischaker, Executive Director of Louisville Downtown Partnership. So sign up for that by Monday at noon or at the Q code right there. And please, guests, join Craig Sherman over that table in the corner there. Great meeting. Thanks a lot.